One of my favorite Elgin models is the Model 8, which was originally advertised as the Veritas model. This is one of the first runs, not the first run, I think it's the fourth run of the Veritas 239, which is the 21 joule offering by the company at the time. Wind it up here. So at the time that this watch was introduced to the market, it was sold as a railroad service watch. So this is a grade 239 Veritas. When this model was introduced to the market, there were three grades. There was a 214 that had 23 joules. There was a 239 that had 21 joules. Both of those were marked Veritas, and you'll see the Veritas name right there. And then there was the grade 240, which was actually had the name BW Raymond, which was a named grade going all the way back to the start of the company. And that one had 19 joules. So basically they came to the market with 19 joule, 21 joule, 23 joule movements. And this one in particular, I mentioned that I believe that this was the fourth run of the 239. It would have been produced around 1902, and the estimated total production of the 239 here is 18,800. So one of the interesting things about this particular model is that the balance, which you'll see right here, the balance is actually more than 25% heavier than the previous 18 size models that were produced by the company. In order to power that heavier balance, the mainspring had to be widened, and so the mainspring is a lot stronger. The mainspring is in this mainspring barrel right here. And the other interesting feature in this particular model that was introduced is George Hunter's safety barrel. And so you can identify the safety barrel. Of course, it's marked right here, safety barrel. This is what you're kind of looking for on the Elgin watches to designate a safety barrel, these three screws. Up until this point, in order to protect the train, which is all the wheels going up to the balance, in order to protect all those gears, in the event when the mainspring broke, you would have to have what was called a safety pinion. The safety barrel basically does the same thing, only it's only within the barrel, and so the barrel it's made out of steel and it's a lot stronger, and the safety barrel, when the mainspring breaks, it contains the entire mainspring and absorbs all of the power that is forced out from the mainspring. The other important patented design, this one was also by George Hunter, is this recoiling click. This is another interesting thing, is that this is a 3/4 plate movement instead of a full plate movement. The previous generations of the 18 size from the Elgin factory were full plate movements. This is a 3/4 plate movement, which means that the balance sits underneath the center wheel. It's kind of recessed down into the movement instead of being on the top plate. And in order to do that, the mechanisms to wind it and that sort of thing need to be slightly different. So this recoiling click, you'll see that in a lot of the Elgin models from this point forward. The other patented thing that you'll see on almost all Elgin watches from this period is Mosley's patented hairspring stud right there. Some people call this the pie-shaped hairspring stud, but that dates all the way back to when the Elgin Company, the National Watch Company at the time, was first starting out. So that patent was assigned to Mosley in 1868. These others, the safety barrel and the click, were patented by George Hunter, and I believe that those patents were issued in 1897. It has ruby jewels. So some of these actually have a diamond end jewel or end stone right here. This one, it's before they began to implement the diamond end stone, and so this one's ruby. All the jewels are ruby. You can see that the jewel settings are gold and they're raised, which signifies usually a higher grade watch. The balance screws are gold as well. And so all in all, just very nicely done movement, very high finish. 21 jewels was near the top of the market. Like I said, the 214 actually had 23 jewels, and those extra jewels were actually in this barrel. One other thing that I wanted to mention is the dial. These came with a double sunk dial, and they are lever set. So in order to set this watch, it's not done by the stem or the pendant. There's a lever right here that swings out. Basically, the reason why this was done, or one of the large reasons that this was done on railroad watches, is because if one of the railroad workers had this in their pocket or something like that, if it was a stem set watch, sometimes that would pop out and the hands could potentially be reset. But with this setup, the lever is underneath the bezel, and so in order to set the watch, you would have to remove the bezel, move the lever, and then you could set the watch and put the lever back in. So this dial is double sunk. So what that means is that the seconds bit right here is sunk, and then you'll see another center sync right around there. And so that's also, it indicates a higher grade watch, because that was more difficult to produce in the factory. It obviously took more time. So anyway, that is the Elgin Veritas 239, running really well, and that's it for this one.